I looked at places that we should be going to in the area of Arta, Ses Païsses was one of the highest on the list. So we're actually going to go home today, so we're going to take the opportunity to have a look at Ses Païsses. So this is the entrance. We just paid €2 to come in, and it's a Paleolithic settlement from 3,000 years ago, so this is really quite ancient. And just asked the gentleman about the pronunciation. I'm a bit deaf, so I don't get these things quite right. But it is Paisses, and he tells me that it's yeah, where they kept horses. But this is actually a settlement where people lived, and so they called this area Ses Païsses. And also, as I was reading before we came up here, this is one of the best preserved archaeological discoveries here in Mallorca.
It's Mallorca's answer to Stonehenge.
And we've been given a leaflet which is in English, so we could have chosen our language. But as we go around, you can see there's lots of things being illustrated of how people lived in this area all this time ago. Some of them are actually a little bit need a little bit of renewing, I think. And from a distance I thought this was actually a little bit of graffiti. Somebody scratched the name on it, but it isn't. If you look at this wall, that's actually quite amazing that anybody could build that all this time ago with those huge rocks. So yeah, I suppose it does remind one a little of Stonehenge, and how did they move those rocks in those days. So, grooves. Just entering into through the wall. As we go in, we can see some of the remains. It's all a bit uneven, but you can see walls and rooms. Quite really impressive archaeological discovery, this. And I make all of these videos, but really you need to see them. You need to come and have a look and see. The video doesn't actually bring it all out. It doesn't show you everything. This is really, really an impressive place. I must say I am quite interested in archaeology. As a little boy, it was about the biggest word I could possibly say, and I always said I wanted to be an archaeologist. Thought of digging up things from the past has always fascinated me. Do you go that way or that way? I'm following Anita. She has the guidebook. She's been reading it carefully.
It's supposed to be numbers, and there's not any numbers yet.
Actually some holes here in the ground, which are clearly from some animal that's been living or is living down there. But it's nice to have a walk in the shade of the trees. Anita's not carrying a parasol, and I don't have my hat on. We're actually circumnavigating what looks like the main part in the middle. Still lots of stones here and what could be the remains of a wall, so it would be defended from intruders. And also as we entered there were some picnic tables, somewhere you could come and have a little picnic. €2. It's actually government owned, so it's why it's so cheap, it's not private. There's another stone circle.
A few people in as well.
So I thought we're the only ones here. There is one other car in the car park. There's actually a few other people now. On this side we've got stones leading up to the top there. We'll discover that later on. Buenas. The trees obviously are a lot newer than the actual stones, and so probably these trees were not actually here. Here we've got quite an impressive remain. See the rooms, the doorways to the rooms. There's lots of walls here. With these sort of places you have to use your imaginations to what they actually looked like in the past. And sometimes you'll get some descriptions which will help you. So this is described as the column building, one of the most complex buildings excavated by Giovanni. It has an apsidal plan. I'm not sure what an apsidal plan is. And this is attached to the eastern area of an old building. During the Paleolithic period it was a single space with a roof supported by columns. 4 of these columns can be observed today in the longitudinal axis. 2 of them are incorporated in the back walls. The entire building was tiled and has access stairs to the terrace floor or top floor. The architectural characteristic is without precedent in the Balearic Islands. So you actually can go down into this. With care, of course. Entranceway. I am making a 360 of this as well, so if you want to have a better look around, that's the way to do it. easy to see where there are actually walls. And that's another entranceway into a really large walled area. That looks like it's a wall, but it could also be a stairway up, path up. A lot of these trees are oak trees.
Acorns on the floor.
Yeah. So while Mallorca is covered with pine trees, when you get to the mountain areas, we do get a lot of these mountain oak trees. Much smaller than the oak trees that we have in the UK. Big steps today. This is what we're walking around. I'm really appreciating the shade by all the trees. Pleasant just walking in the forest. There's a gentle breeze as well, which is helping to keep us cool. Some years ago we went to visit Naples in Italy, and one of the must-do things while you're in Naples is to visit Pompeii and also Herculaneum, and they both fascinated me. Well, this is a more ancient version of that. There are actually lots and lots and lots of rooms here. Lots of buildings that keep using your imagination. I'm actually directly in the sun now. So we've now circumnavigated, so now we need to find our way up to the top. Illustration here of how it was excavated.
I'm just going to go.
Walk a little bit further round, and we're just going to head towards the central part here. Referred to simply as the Arta. Really incredibly thick walls. The walls are 2 meters thick in some places, and some of the pillars are still remaining there, which were supporting, would have supported the roof in the past. If you come, it is a little bit of a scramble, but it's all worth it just to see all of this wonderful archaeology. Discover a little bit about how people lived 3,000 years ago. Warnings not to climb on the wall, so we just keep ourselves away from the edges. There'll be lots and lots of pillars in there. Unfortunately, the actual information is written very close to the edge. The hypostyle room on the eastern area of the Taliot. It's connected to the Taliot through a corridor and by a small door. So there was actually over there a small entranceway, and down here there's be a sort of fireplace out there. This is referred to as the sanctuary. This building has a horseshoe-shaped plan, traditional for sanctuaries. It was built on the beginning of the post-Haliarctic period. Sanctuaries were meeting spaces, which were probably political decisions affecting the settlement were made. It was also a space to celebrate rituals. Wine, lamb and veal were consumed. Anita's now going to come and see where I am. Again, try not to climb on the walls, but just climbing around, walking around. There's no health and safety here, of course. Maybe I've come up the wrong way again, as is normal. One has to be very, very careful here, as Anita says. Difficult to work out what some of these were. Really, just the size of the place just makes it all very, very interesting. And all made out of the local stones. Looks as though she's found a, I'm not sure, possibly. She found another way up. One of the problems here is that it has a lot of vegetation, trees and roots and things, so they actually destroy these buildings. So I can can understand here why they've actually put some matting down to prevent the growth of vegetation, which can irreparably damage these places. It just over time completely knocks them down. I was reading an article just this week about Stonehenge and why hasn't Stonehenge weathered and being destroyed by the weather, and it's because of the crystalline nature of the rock that it's made from. It's so strongly bonded together that it resists weathering, and so they can stand for thousands upon thousands of years, just as these have. I'm going to make my way down very carefully and see if I can find Anita. When I was at school, I had to study history. It was a compulsory subject for me, and it was the social and economic history of Great Britain from 1850 to 1945, I think. And it might have been interesting to some people to study about the Irish potato famine, which wasn't Great Britain, but that's what we studied, or back-to-back houses, or there was some local history as well. But it would have been far more interesting to me, I think, as a young boy, to have studied things like this, to find out how people had lived thousands of years ago in Great Britain. And that wasn't part of my curriculum, so I didn't actually learn very much about it. But coming here and actually being able to see these things has been a fascinating insight to us, and I would recommend anyone who's coming on holiday to find out a little bit about the place where you're going. Doesn't matter whether it's Mallorca or anywhere in the world, find out a little bit about it, a little bit about the history. And if you get the opportunity to visit somewhere like Ses Païsses, then it's a great thing to do. We've thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's much better to come rather than to watch the video. But thank you very much for watching, and if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell and thumbs up and all that sort of thing. And thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.
Bye.